I'm Erica Lynn, and we all know the ocean is the most demanding environment on Earth, consistently testing the reliability and durability of our equipment. When you spend as much time fishing as I do, you know that reliable gear is essential for staying on the water. This is why I went with the Abyss battery to power my trolling motor, electronics, and outboard. The guys at Abyss Battery are rattling the saltwater industry by manufacturing performance marine batteries specifically designed for sonar, outboards, trolling motors, and electronic fishing reels. They're also Bluetooth compatible, so I found checking battery statuses right on your phone while you're out on the water is a huge game changer. To learn more about why Abyss batteries are used by the pros and factory installed by premier boat builders, visit abyssbattery.com.
Hello and welcome to the Publicly Challenged Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Oswald, and I hope you join me on my quest for knowledge to become a better public land hunter, angler, and forager. Stick with this and who knows, maybe we will learn something together. Okay, so I'm sitting here and I'm talking to Jason REDD of Timber Ninjas. And Jason, I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit, and then we're going to talk.
Yeah, Jason REDD, live in Asheville, North Carolina, founder of Timber Ninja Outdoors. We're a mobile hunting products company, and our first introduction, which most people that are familiar with us are familiar with, is our carbon fiber C1 climbing stick. But just living here in Asheville. Grew up in Arkansas. Been hunting since I was probably walking, at least getting carried. So always done it and just like doing stuff in the outdoors. But thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man, it's good to have you. And I got some. So being from Arkansas, were you more of a duck hunter than a deer hunter, or what?
It's a good question. Yeah, I've done a lot of duck hunting. I was a guide for a good portion of my teenage years up until my early 20s. But deer hunted a lot, but come Thanksgiving, I was pretty much duck hunting all the way until, end of January.
I've never met anybody from Arkansas that doesn't duck hunt. That's kind of like it's a rite of passage or something. But
yeah, it's a really awesome. I still go back once a year for about a week, but nowadays I'm selective. I only go when it's good. So, but having a kid, I have an 11-year-old son, and he really into hunting, and duck hunting is just such a great thing to share with kids because they don't have to be so quiet. They can have fun, talk, and usually there's a lot of action. So it keeps everybody on their toes.
That's about the one thing I don't like about the duck hunting is because it's so, I don't know, or at least that's what I always thought is like, oh man, you could sit there, you could watch a football game on your phone. I know some dudes that do that, and it's like, man, you're not hunting. You're not hunting at that point. But no, it's cool. I just recently started duck hunting, and I got to say I love it. My buddy and I did it a couple times, and one time we did the whole big production, put out a spread, boat blind and stuff. But then we put out a smaller, just real small spread, and didn't have much action that day. It was kind of too late in the season, but I think I want to go more that approach and try and do more of the just like the minimalist setting up with a canoe and stuff. I don't know. That just kind of intrigues me.
That my preferred way of duck hunting is hunting flooded green timber, like taking a boat in and getting out of the boat and walking around in flooded green timber and catching mallards coming in, to eat acorns and stuff like that. That's when it really gets exciting, man. It's like you have 150 mallards dropping into pretty thick hardwood timber, and wings are hitting limbs, and it's just the classic Arkansas duck hunt that you see, that's what's awesome. Like the field hunting, I can do without the field hunting.
I never liked it. Never liked that. No, I went on a big production snow goose hunt, and that was probably, everybody's like, oh, you gotta go, go out to western Nebraska and hit up a big snow goose hunt, and we must have hit it the wrong time or something, or the guides didn't do anything with the fields, and it was just a bad experience all around. And it kind of just like, it was so boring at times, and you're just laying there in a big wide open field in Kansas, and I'm thinking, I could be hunting a deer right now. I could be doing a lot of other things other than this.
Yeah,
so,
right. a lot more nostalgia around looking in the woods than it is looking over a wheat field.
Yeah, yeah. But so what other kind of hunting do you do? I mean, are you like a Westie? You go out there and do some elk hunting and all that stuff, or
Yeah, yeah. I hunt out west a fair amount. I do a lot of turkey hunting. That's one of my favorite things to do. Uh, Tons of deer hunting, specifically mountain public land whitetail hunting. And then this year I'm going to Alaska for my first time coming up. And actually, I'm a short timer. I leave on August the 5th. So I'll be heading to Alaska. A buddy of mine and I going in, getting dropped off for 14 days chasing caribou.
that's awesome.
So,
So what are you going to
but
go after, like the northern herd, or what do you?
yeah, we're getting dropped in the Brooks Range, and we'll be there, yeah, 14 days, and we've got caribou tags, and we're gonna pick up a wolf tag each too, see if something happens there. But yeah, when I grow up, I want to be a true Alaskan hunter. That's what I want to grow up. What I would
When
want to
I
do when I
grow
grow
up.
up. Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. That's my goal, and I started to realize that I might need to try and attain that goal sooner than later because you never know when those opportunities are going to go away or something's going to change. So I think
Yeah.
I think before sooner than later, that's my goal. Is I really want to try and do the Hall Road or something like that with my bow.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, that'd be cool, man. Um I've looked at that haul road. We're taking the haul road up. We fly into Fairbanks and then we drive up and we catch a float plane and then it takes us into the North Brooks. But I've watched some of those and read about some of those haul road trips. Those seem pretty cool too. Just like I've seen some guys like
yeah,
staying in their campers, like riding around scoping it out, and
yeah.
looks
The
pretty
only
cool.
thing I was told is don't bring a rifle because it's 2 miles from the road minimum. You have to be away.
Yeah,
So definitely, if you see them, 100 yards off the road, you could try and stalk up on the herd with your bow.
hmm,
But if you got a rifle, it's a no go. So you could be out there a lot
yeah,
longer and have to work even harder. And from what it sounds like, even though it's you're road hunting, it's not a walk in the park, but it seems pretty
yeah,
cool. I like watching the videos
yeah.
on it, and hopefully one day, real quick here, I can get out there. In the meantime, I apply for all the dream raffles.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
me too. I donate. My big thing is I want to be a sheep hunter, and my goal is to retire early at 50 to be a sheep guide. So that's like my big dream. Yeah,
if you're in Alaska,
but
it'll be easy to do, right? I mean,
yeah,
you can go buy an
if you
over
have
the
to, yeah,
counter.
you have to move there. Yeah, if
Yeah,
you live there, yeah, it's pretty easy. I think it's like $15 or something. Their tags are real cheap for residents, and no matter what species there is a resident, to my understanding, like the tag's the same price.
that's pretty
So
cool.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
yeah, not a bad place to live, especially during these trying times if you need to have a bug out spot.
no kidding, right? So, I've noticed in some of your stuff, you're a trad hunter.
Yeah, yeah, I started shooting a trad bow a few years ago. Um, Really just kind of kept getting instigated by one of my friends to start shooting it because he and I are kind of the same like level mentally of what things we like to do. We like things that are hard and challenging. And he was like, man, the trad bow would be your thing. And in my mind, I had all these plans for trips, and I was like, well, I want to be more successful, get some things killed that I probably won't have a chance to kill before. Then I'll start trad hunting. But I got to thinking about it, and essentially, we only have so much time anyway, so why not go chase it with the weapon that you're planning to hunt with long term. And so I got into shooting them, and I just love shooting the trad bow. It's so much fun. I mean, especially on long trips out west, or anywhere in the backcountry, you can stump shoot. If you get bored, you can't do that with a compound bow, and it just obviously your range gets shortened, so you have to improve your hunting skills to be able to get that close sometimes, depending on the species. And yeah, it's just fun. And the bows are just beautiful. And also most of the bowyers have some story that, always intrigues me too. And a lot of bows I buy sometimes, are more based on the bowyer than it is the actual bow he produced.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's fun, man.
I've got a soft spot in my heart for a longbow because
Mm,
I hunted with one for a while, and then it just got to be where I honestly just didn't practice enough and had a
hmm.
bad circumstance, and then I kind of got away from it. But I still love it. I'll still break it out every once in a while and shoot it, and it's awesome. But so, what's your kind of setup then? You shooting wood shafts or carbon, or what do you go to?
I I shoot preferably. I like a longbow more, and I shoot carbon shafts. This year I'm shooting day six arrows uh, out of carbons, but with wild fletchings. I don't. Have you heard of that company? The
Nope.
gentleman that he takes turkey feathers and he grinds fletchings, and he has a program where if you send him turkey feathers, he'll send you you know a, a trad feather for every turkey feather you send him, something like that. I purchased mine. I didn't send him any turkey feathers, but I'm going to next year. But the turkey feather itself has more natural oil in it than like the other feathers that you buy from archery shops. Those are more like domestic turkeys
Mm-hmm.
and have less oil. So the the wild turkey feather is a little bit more water resistant. So I'm using those on my setup this year. I'm actually taking it. That's what I'm taking to Alaska. But I did start playing with wood shafts this year too. Uh, just I was intrigued by it. I mean, ultimately, I would like to work up and essentially maybe take something with a stone point at some point. But this year, I have a goal of just shooting with the wood shaft. I just want to shoot a doe with it, and then I'll focus on everything else with my carbon, setup. But yeah, the wood arrows are pretty impressive though. They shoot very well and
Yeah.
they're really cool. But there's a lot of work to them unless you just pay somebody to make them for you.
No, I totally nerded out on all that stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the fun part is, coming up with how you're going to design everything on your shaft, your stain, the scheme of your stain, and
yeah,
everything that goes along with it, your fletching pattern and all kinds of stuff. I totally nerded out on that. And then I had a buddy who went even further, of course. We were always competing against each other what we could come up with or what we were going to do. And then he started
mm.
playing around with like tapered shafts and really got
Oh,
into all that stuff. And then he actually found a guy. He didn't nap the flint himself, but he ordered and told the guy the specs he wanted for length and weight.
yeah,
And the guy
yeah,
actually napped him for him on eBay and sent him
yeah.
these awesome stone points. And yeah, I think he took like a little spike with it, but pretty
Oh,
cool
cool.
experience. Yeah, from the ground too. So that
Yeah,
was pretty cool experience. Obviously his arrow was broken, but I think he's got that and like the little spike skull, and it's sitting on it on his wall somewhere. It's pretty
dude.
cool.
Yeah, I'm jealous, man. Like I I would really like to. We have a lot of black bear here. I do a fair amount of bear hunting too with the bow, and I'd like to get a bear with a stone point. That's uh, a goal here in the next couple of years. We'll see how I shoot the stone points. I mean, I'm shooting the wood shafts fine, no different. I mean, I have a few different bows, but I'll put have one of those in my quiver along with my carbon and stack them right next to each other. It's really not much difference for me.
Yeah, no, I
But
think they're pretty cool. I've
yeah,
never
they're
done
cool,
it,
man.
but yeah, that's something down the road. I think when I have more free time, I'm definitely going to start playing with it a lot more.
Yeah.
But yeah, um, so I'm kind of curious, the whole company, the Timber Ninjas, and all that kind of stuff. Kind of what's the backstory behind all that?
Well, like I said, I've been mobile mobile hunting for most all my life. Growing up, we just didn't have a lot of money, so we essentially that was our only choice to hunt was public land. So we always had to travel and go hunt public land in Arkansas, where I specifically grew up in Arkansas. Uh, we didn't have a lot of woods; it's mainly all rice fields and a few little wood lots here and there. So for the majority of our deer hunting, we had to travel a little bit, a couple hours, and so I just as I got older, I also just enjoyed hunting public land. I got to travel and and going in some of these places, man, it's just country's hard sometimes, especially as I move to the mountains. And I was looking for products that were lighter weight, which there really wasn't anything on the market. Everything was kind of right there in that same weight range, and beyond the weight, the things that were uh, most irritating, I guess, was a lot of stuff just didn't really pack very well. And as I adapted my system over the years, I went to a full-on, frame style pack, and was packing everything into my frame pack, and the weight wasn't the biggest factor. It's not a problem for me to carry decent weight for a few miles. It's not a big deal, but the packability was a problem, and also just stuff was always getting hung up in bushes. And your stick options up until the last few years were all like 3-step 30 inch plus sticks, and it wasn't anything out there that was what I felt to be efficient for the way I like to hunt. And so I started toying with the idea of making carbon fiber products, because I have a background in bicycle racing and also other sports that use carbon fiber. And like I was talking to you before the podcast, I'm in the industrial trade, so I go to a lot of manufacturing plants. So I've been in a lot of plants that do work with carbon fiber, and I never could really understand why it hadn't been done with deer stands yet. Well, I guess a side note that there was a lone, or not a lone wolf, a old man made a carbon fiber climber back in the day. They did actually make that, but that was the only product that had ever been made out of carbon fiber for the tree stands or sticks. So yeah, I started playing with the stick design, and had a lot of issues with it in the beginning, just trying to get it to work out. Excuse me. Had a lot of issues with it in the beginning, trying to get it all to work together, and was able to sorry, I have a frog in my throat. Was able to work out some of the engineering. I started working with one of my end user customers to help us determine how to fix some of the issues we were having, because it's just not as easy as taking a carbon fiber tube that you can buy online and punching holes in it the way you see people doing with DIY aluminum sticks. It's just not that easy. And so we were able to get around all that, and ended up getting a product that I was able to hunt with for a while, and I tested them all year, and I really never had intentions of bringing the product to market. It wasn't really necessarily an idea to start a new business. But a lot of my buddies that all were seeing my sticks were like, man, these things are, crazy light and cool, and you should do this. And so after some thought, I decided, maybe start another company and get it going. So we got serious about turning it into an actual company in November last year. And I determined that if we were going to do this, we were going to go all in and, do all mobile hunting products. Because, there's, outside of just, tree stands and sticks, there's a lot of things that we use as mobile hunters that, can be improved and innovated. There's still a lot of materials and designs that are used in other industries that we don't use as hunters. So we launched the sticks first. Took a little time to get everything right. First we worked out the integrity issues that we were having, and then we just wanted to make sure the product was going to stand up as far as the carbon fiber for the year. And then we developed some steps that were polymer based, because we wanted the product to be as quiet as possible too. We didn't want people to have to take a product they spend good money on and essentially modify it to be able to use in the woods. We wanted something that would be hunt ready. So we worked with some different engineers to come up with the right polymer that would work for what we were trying to do. So, we have polymer steps on that stick, and then a metal setback. The metal has to kind of stay with the setback. You can't really, plastic's not really a good thing to be biting into trees, in my opinion, especially for longevity. So, that's how the C1 stick came together. It, it's a functional 20-inch, and we have a 24-inch option. Stacks very well. It nests into the standoff nest into the step, so it locks, pretty good. Like you have to use something like a, attachment cord, like a rope or cam buckle strap to wrap around to completely hold it in place. But, like some of the other sticks from back in the day, even though they would somewhat stack, they'd always kind of crumble down like a Jenga puzzle,
Well, that's kind of one of the problems I've got right now with my Hawk Helium sticks. Mm-hmm. I had the XOPs and I was like, oh, I'm going to get the Hawks. I like the way, at least the concept I liked of how they stack together with the suction cups and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, these things suck. They don't hold together. I thought I could just snap them together with that and that would be it. You still have to lash them. They come apart anyway. And the metal sticks are loud. And that's why I'm super curious about your product as far as the noise. And have you done like actual decibel readings versus a metal stick versus that or anything?
It's funny you bring that up. We haven't, but I was actually thinking about that today because, I work around that type of equipment every day for my day job. And I was just thinking about different videos, and I would like to do a comparison of that. I mean, it does make some level of noise, but it's not as unnatural as like metal clanging. More and more people these days are using carabiners in their hunting system, and a carabiner either dangling from a saddle, or if you're like me that hunts out of a lock-on stand and uses a climbing harness, you have carabiners for either linemen's or even your tether that you use to attach yourself to the tree, even as personal security for hunting out of a lock-on. Coming up a tree, how many times have you had something metal ding your stick? So
all the time, and that's why I'm so curious. I'm so curious about that because it seems almost every hunt there's something, and then I'm silencing that, and the next piece that I never had hit before, that's what happens. So I went from the buckles to the daisy chain webbing, and I tried the rope method for a while, and then I switched back to the daisy chain, but I'm not super confident with like the daisy chain right now because the last time I was out, I stepped on it and I didn't have it tight enough, and that stand actually the stick actually kicked out from me, and learned real quick how good a lineman's belt works.
Yeah. I get asked that question a lot about, if we're going to add a daisy chain option. And that's my biggest issue is it's really hard to get the adjustment when you're dealing with loops to be perfectly correct for any tree. There's going to be some sag. I personally use a 6mm cord, and I've been rock climbing for a long time, so I can throw a girth hitch knot in there really quick, almost as quick as I probably could find the right loop in the daisy chain to get it around. But when I pull it up, everything's solid and tight. But essentially with our sticks, how we designed our standoff, it really cuts into the tree very well. When you can take it and put it on the tree, and how you're supposed to set your stick, you kind of just slide it down the tree to kind of lock in, and then you really attach your attachment method. With ours, you can lock it down and take your hand off of it to put the rope around or whatever you're using. But yeah, that slack in there could be a problem, especially causing kick out from the bottom. And and depending on what setback, there's a few more people that also are making pretty aggressive setback, standoff, whatever you want to call them these days. So that's drastically improved, I would say, in the last few years.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I'm curious to see what your watch your videos when they come out with the noise. So what kind of weight are we talking with the carbon fiber? I know it's probably substantially lighter, but what kind of?
So our 20-inch stick weighs 1.2 pounds. And we also offer a retractable aider. It's a wire rope aider that you're able to slide back up into the carbon fiber tube when it's not in use. It does leave a little loop out, but even with that aider on the 20-inch, we're still only a little over 1.4 pounds. So essentially, you're getting 34 inches of climbing out of a 1.4 pound stick. So, and then we also offer the same for our 24, which that one is an 18-inch aider because it's 4-inch longer stick, and it weighs right at like 1.5 pounds because with the carbon fiber, the weight's not in the tube, whereas it is with aluminum. And that's, in my opinion, that's why you see a lot of people having different sizes of lengths of their aluminum sticks, as they were trying to get down with the weight more so than anything. Whereas ours, we can go 20 to 24 and it's, just an ounce or so, there's not much to it at all.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't really understand the whole saddle hunting where these guys are trying to get down to where they're, less than 2 pounds or 3 pounds for what they're doing, or like the ones. To me, it just doesn't make sense, because if you're going out, or maybe it's because a lot of these guys have never gone out west or done anything, but you're carrying your entire camp on your back. And then if you kill something, you might carry both because you don't want to come back. So,
yeah,
I mean, to me, it was never really the weight, but like you said, it's the same thing. It's the bulkiness. It's the banging and clanging going along, or something comes loose. I've had that before, where something comes loose on like your climber stand or something, and then it's banging and clanging until you stop and take it off. And that's kind of what drove me towards the saddle hunting, is because, it's just a harness, it's on. I put tape on the buckles, it's quiet, but I still like to put a hang on stand up every once in a while too. But the sticks, I think, and the noise was my biggest thing. And that's what I was super curious to talk to you about that, because it seems interesting. And like you said, the whole natural sound to it, there's no metal tink out in the wild. So it really draws attention.
Well, and the more that you can compact your system or make your system more efficient to move through the woods, the quieter you can be going in. And, the more effective you are as a hunter, with disturbing these animals, especially if you're, someone that targets mature animals, or and especially if you're, trying to hunt them in their bedroom, you definitely have to be as quiet as you can be, and as ninja-like, as we call it, hunt like a ninja, as you can be. But then there's also, some giveaway with ultralight stuff, not from a stick perspective, but when you start cutting out comfort in your system, people running, like, for instance, with saddles, if you're running a minimalist saddle, there's some of those things can't be as comfortable as some of the ones that are, a little bit more padding, or, a little bit thicker webbing here and there. But, it is cool because it gives people so many options these days. I mean, there's just tons out there for the mobile hunting community, and, and really none of it's new. I mean, people have been doing a lot of this stuff for a long time. It's just, it never was public. I mean, nobody was doing carbon fiber or anything like that, but like the whole general concept of some of these, like the saddles, people have been saddle hunting for, forever. And it's just never really been public information until, the great thing about social media, people get to spread this information, or YouTube. But yeah, I mean, every year something new's coming out that's pretty cool. But I'm still personally I like to hunt out of a lock-on stand. I mean, I've hung in climbing harnesses for a long time, and I'm sorry, I can't see myself hanging in a tree saddle for, a daylight to dark sit for 5 days. But
see, I bought my saddle because I thought it would improve my back. I'd always screw up my back after sitting for long sits, and, being directly up against a tree in a lighter weight tree stand. And I was like, well, maybe I'll give the saddle a try. And it gives you the option to move a lot more. But other than that, so the next thing I kind of wanted to ask you, though, is how high do you like to hunt? Are you a guy that gets up 25 feet, or are you kind of one of those 18 feet, 15 feet, and you're good?
Most of the time I'm less than that, to be honest with you. Here in the mountains, in a lot of the other mountain regions that I hunt, you're never going to get high enough, because if you're hunting, let's say if you're hunting the top third of a ridge, there's always going to be an opportunity for the deer to be above you, no matter how high you get, because especially depending on how steep the terrain is, don't get me wrong. I mean, a lot of people get hill country and mountain hunting confused. Like, there's a complete difference of hunting the hills, what some people call mountains, don't get me wrong, but until you get into the real mountains, like on the East Coast, it's a drastic change. So I tend to hunt pretty low. I'm more of find the right cover and the right tree rather than looking at how high it is. And I mean, sometimes I may only use one stick if it's the right setup. And shooting the traditional bow, that it's a lot better with angles, lower you are too, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't have any problems getting busted hunting low. Have a video. I don't really do much self filming or anything, but I have a video on my phone where I had a buck walk up under my stand. I could have reached down and grabbed him by his horns. So it's all in your setup.
Yeah, it's a lot of times though. Like I hunt, I like big wide open river bottoms and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
to where I don't know if I could get away with being down low without being actually on the ground. So I like to get up there to where I get a nice vantage point. And some guys give me crap for it, but so that's my whole thing is like, if I'm hunting with sticks, I'm probably going to be like a 4-stick kind of guy. And then maybe even put, an 8er on one of them or something to get up higher.
Yeah.
But do you think you could eliminate that with the 8ers on 3 of them, or how would that work?
Yeah. I mean, if you had essentially 3 8ers on 320-inch sticks, that's 30. What was that? No, it's 40, 42 inches from 3 8ers. Is that math right? 14 times 3? Yeah. Yeah, it's 42. So, I mean, yeah, you could essentially take out 2 sticks with 3 sticks with 3 8ers.
That might be a plan. So, kind of curious, are you planning on anything else for the Timber Ninjas, or anything in the future that you can talk about anyway?
Yeah, it's pretty known. Like, I mean, there's pictures of our hybrid prototype lock-on stand that we're working on, which, that stand, it has had a metal platform with carbon fiber tube and a polymer seat, and we were able to get that one down to around 7 pounds. And it's and it's essentially a traditional size stand. I mean, a little bit smaller than traditional. It's 18 inches wide by 24-inch long platform with a 20-inch seat tube height. Any lower than 20-inch seat height, then I'm 6'2". My knees are going to be getting up into my face if I go any lower than that. So we were working on the hybrid, but I was able to make some relationships with a partner that we're going to be able to produce that in full carbon fiber. So that's actually on the plate right now. We're getting it finished up and going to have it tested and hopefully be able to have it for sale by October the 1st. Shooting for September the 1st, but just how things have worked this year with COVID and everything, I'm going to go ahead and give a month buffer there.
It's probably a pretty good idea. But so you're saying the entire stand will be made out of carbon fiber, minus
Everything
standoffs?
Yeah, minus the metal that bites into the tree. Will the goal is to have everything carbon fiber. And also the cables going from your platform to your seat posts. They won't be carbon fiber, but yeah, the majority of the product will be carbon fiber.
Would they be cables or like AM steel or something?
Still working on that. Got a couple of different ideas we're working on in that world actually. It's going to be, the design of it's going to be really cool and compact. It's going to be ideal for the for a backpack type hunter or mobile hunter. There's a few other features and benefits that we're building into it that I'm not really ready to share quite yet.
Gotcha.
But I think it'd be pretty sweet for people. And and we're also really close on finishing up our production prototype of our camera arm. We're coming out with a camera arm too.
Seems like everybody's wanting to film these days, but
Oh man, I got suckered into it for this year by Jordan and Tyler, who are 2 of my buddies, are involved with the company, and both of them do some filming. Jordan does a lot of filming, been filming since he was in high school. So I think, 15, 20 years or so. He never puts anything on YouTube. He just does it for himself, which is kind of funny. But they've talked me into doing some filming this year, which is not my thing. I just like going in as simple as possible and taking as much out of my much out that would cause any problems for me, but I was able to get like a really cool, compact, small camera, which, we can use for vlogging and reviews and stuff like that too. So it'll work out pretty good, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll ever use any of my footage because I'm sure it's not going to be what people are looking for.
I'm sure mine's not either. I don't know. I don't even remember to take pictures sometimes because I get so wrapped up in the moment, and I want to focus on that. And then afterwards I stop and I'm like, man, I probably should have taken a picture of that. I mean, like I was just out in Montana a couple weeks ago. We were on the mountain glassing elk, doing all kinds of stuff. I think maybe I've got like 6 pictures total. It's just,
man, we're on the same team there. I've been fortunate enough to go on some really great trips in my life, climbing trips, surfing, hunting, and just like you, I'll come back with like 2 pictures from 2 weeks. And so, and I started hunting this year during turkey season with a gentleman that does a lot of filming for hunting, Heath Jolly with Budget Buck Outdoors. And the thing that's interesting is like, he was filming our turkey hunt, and we're going through there, and all I'm thinking about is killing turkeys. And every once in a while I look back and he's talking to the camera, because like you have to tell the story as you're doing it. And like that's where I'm going to really suck, is that I'm not going to think about telling the story, like,
no.
and I'm horrible at it, man. Like I go out and set out cameras here recently, and technically if you want to provide some good content, I should be out there filming that. But it's like, it doesn't even cross my mind when I leave the house to grab my camera to, take this extra information. Same way with trying to run an Instagram page. You know how that is, for your company or your podcast or business. It's like I run out of material all the time just because I just don't take a lot of pictures. And now I'm having to hustle people that have been testing our sticks to send me pictures. This way I can, get some more content.
Absolutely. That's the biggest thing that I get from everybody. They're like, man, you gotta post more. You gotta do stuff. So lately I've been trying to be more engaged, but yeah, there's times where it's basically episode to episode and that's it. It's just me and social media and all that kind of stuff. I'm surprised I even figured out how to work and do this whole podcast thing, because I just want to be out there and hunt, and I want to talk to people about it. I want to learn about things. That's why I got the podcast, and luckily I learned how to do that. So you got the stand coming out. I'm curious. You said it was like 7 pounds, or is it going to be lighter than that?
No, it's definitely going to be lighter than that.
Okay.
The goal is sub 5.
That's a light stand.
Yeah, I don't want to share, like, if you know anything about engineering, you can put your product into a program called SolidWorks, and you can put your components and the materials you're using and everything, and it'll give you an exact, almost exact weight of what the product's going to weigh. And also, you can also even put in other parameters to, how the material is going to perform. So you can essentially, like, if you're doing a 300-pound weight rating, you can plug that in there, or a 2 times safety factor, which is 600. You can kind of put that in there to build out, the material that you need. Well, this is specific for carbon fiber, but yeah, the weight right now is stupid light. Like, and it will increase some. I know that's going to happen, but it's just really impressive of where it's at right now. But it's I think I understand why more people didn't go down the carbon fiber route, because the prototyping for some of this stuff, it's not cheap. It's really expensive to get in the business of making carbon fiber products, especially if you mess something up. Like, it's not fun messing up a stick.
Well, manufacturing cost is probably quite a bit higher too.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the platform itself, if we can, a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you guys, because with metal, when you're machining it or doing whatever you're doing, casting it, you can cast different ridges or knurling or something in there so it's not slippery. I would imagine the carbon fiber would be kind of slippery with just a regular platform.
No, I think a lot of people most of what you see in carbon fiber is always that slick, shiny finish. Like our sticks, or this generation of our sticks is like what you would most commonly see with carbon fiber. But, essentially it's just composite materials. You can add different types of layers of material in there that go in with the carbon fiber, and to kind of you can cast it the same, not necessarily the same way, but you can cast it to do things that you want to do as far as grip or holes or patterns. I mean, you can do all kind of stuff with it. And then also, you can finish it with, like a gel coat, like if you ever, like boats, for instance, fiberglass boats, how they always have like a non-skid type gel coat in certain areas. You can do that with carbon fiber too. So there's ways of making it all work to where it won't need any modification after, it's delivered.
Really, that's interesting. I'm kind of curious to see this thing now. Um, so, what typically do you have like a price point set in mind, or that's kind of not in the wheelhouse yet?
Yeah, we have a target cost, in which, talking with the engineers and the partner we're working with, I think it's pretty feasible. Be in the mid 500s would be a goal. I mean, it's essentially, if you look at like the Lone Wolf's custom gear, aluminum, water jet cut stuff. I mean, I think they're $500 now too. So, be able to save weight and, uh, beyond that, lighter, quieter to a degree. And also, the one thing it's a big takeaway with carbon fiber versus aluminum is it doesn't hold cold or heat the way aluminum does. So essentially, you can put a carbon fiber stick in, you know, freezing temperatures and touch it, and you're not going to notice the difference. It doesn't feel like you're picking up an iceberg the way, if you've ever grabbed a aluminum stick when you're climbing with cold hands, it's kind of tough to deal with. So there's a lot of benefit to that as well.
So when you said that, it just made me think of something. When I shot trad bow, I shot with my fingers.
Mm-hmm.
Do you shoot? You shoot with your fingers like gloved, or how are you doing it?
I shoot tab 3-under.
Okay, so if you're shooting the tab, you take that tab off and you got a bare hand, and then you're climbing, right? So then you're grabbing a
Yeah.
cold stick. Okay, because that's
Yeah.
in my mind. When you said that, it automatically hit me, and I was like, man, I know that exact feeling I have in my bare
Yeah.
hand from shooting a trad bow and keeping it warm in my pocket,
Yeah.
and then grabbing that cold stick and just the sting. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's a
Yeah.
nice
It's
feature.
yeah, it just calls your hands to definitely just not work, like especially if it gets cold. Yeah. There's a lot of benefits to it. I mean, it's extremely strong too. I mean, that's the biggest concern people have. You pick up something that, you know, weighs as much as it does, you automatically think it's fragile. But, you know, it's extremely durable. I mean, we third party test all of our products that, we call our at height products. They've been third party tested. So, we had a 300-pound safety rating on our sticks, which, do a proper 300-pound safety rating, you have to do a 2 times safety factor at 600 pounds. And, we did 3 different tests of 600 pounds on the same step, which is not even required, held up fine. And we actually took that same stick and ran it through what they call the repetitive motion test, which essentially it it is an example of a person walking up and down the sticks X amount of times per year for so many years. So if you're using a 2-step stick, the cycle route count is, for the standard, is 1,000 cycles, and our product actually went to 4,000 cycles, and it didn't fail. He just got tired of being there, because that cycle count takes pretty much all day to run. Another cool thing about our stick during this testing was, in the gentleman at the lab I had it tested the majority of all the hunting products in the industry. They're probably one of the more prominent labs in the country, and actually happened, they're in Georgia, so it's not far from here in Asheville. I can get there in 3 hours. So I was able to drive down and watch it and talk to the people. And the interesting thing that he saw about our sticks was, especially with the polymer step, is, at 600 pounds, it was getting a load and starting to bend. But as soon as the pressure came off of it, it went back to its natural state every time. It just kept recovering. Whereas, aluminum is going to bend and stay that way. So kind of a cool feature, kind of like some Batman type stuff, I guess.
That's pretty neat. No, that's cool. So earlier you and I were talking, I think we were messaging on Instagram or something about foraging. And I got to ask you about that. So what do you guys forage for?
Up here, a lot of mushrooms. The climate here in North Carolina, Western North Carolina, I mean, it's kind of like temperate rainforest in some areas. So we get a lot of mushrooms and, well, I take it back. Our morels have been off here the last few years. We haven't had great morel seasons, but any of your chanterelles, your lion's mane, chicken of the woods, oyster, bullets, chanterelles, we have tons of all that. You can stay busy with that. And then, a lot of other like greenery stuff if you want to like really get nerdy about it, like watercress and things like that kind of grow naturally. And then obviously a bunch of berries.
Yeah. So North Carolina is actually one of the most ecologically diverse states for flora and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. So yeah. There's a lot of foragers out by you.
Oh yeah. There's a very well-known one, guy by the name of Alan Muscat is very prominent in the mycology world, and he does a lot of, he makes a living doing mushroom foraging, workshops and stuff.
Yeah. There's a lot of them. I've actually got a friend that I met through the podcast, interviewed her, and she's out there and she teaches classes all the time. She's got a place called the Wander School, so it's pretty neat. Yeah, and she's right in Nashville, I believe.
Yeah, pretty cool. I kind of stick to the ones that I know really well. Like pretty much the ones I talked about. There's many more, but I always feel like either for fun when I'm out hunting or fishing or whatever. I know you forage, so you can pretty much smell them before you see them. Most of them,
yeah.
The good ones, especially like chicken. I can smell chicken a mile away.
Hen of the woods too. Yeah.
Yeah,
hen of the big oaks.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, last time my buddy and I were out hunting together, I had to make 2 trips back to my truck. And then he's like, all right, I'll just go. Cause he knew he wasn't going to get me out of there until I picked a bunch of them. And we ended up, I don't know, probably 20 pounds of mushrooms in about 20 minutes. So
what kind was it?
Hen of the woods. Big hen of the woods. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I like the lion's mane too. Do you get oyster there? I'm assuming you do, right?
We do. Yep.
Do you ever have those times in like December that it's kind of a warm day and you'll find some oyster?
I've actually only found them a couple times. I haven't really gotten into them real good yet, but yeah, I know what you're talking about anyway, to where they'll be melting. This ice will be melting around them and they'll still be there.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had that happen. That's really cool little winter treat because it's not something common,
Yeah, absolutely. But before we get going here, I appreciate you coming on, but tell everybody where they can find you, where they can find your products, please.
Well, our website's timberninjaoutdoors.com, and we're on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Timber Ninja Outdoors as well. And yeah, we have a lot more products coming out, and have some new swag about to drop. We got some hats dropping tomorrow, and actually got a new shirt. They just finally came in. It's our Mountain Spirit shirt. It'll be dropping probably next week sometime. We got to get some pictures of these and get them up on the website. But yeah, we're just going to try to keep innovating and making cool, fun mobile hunting products. And here in the U.S., all of our products are made in the U.S. and also giving back to conservation. That's we're really keen on conservation and giving back. So we'll be doing some joint projects this year and years to come with people to kind of help, spread the love.
That's awesome. I thank you so much, man. Thanks for coming on, and I appreciate talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us on.
All right, man.
And once again, thank you so much for listening to the Publicly Challenged podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please subscribe on whatever platform it is you're listening to. Also, if you could leave a review, that would help us out. And you can check us out on Instagram or at publiclychallenged.com. And once again, thank you so much for listening to the show.